Don't worry lads, I'm kind of vlogging on the go here because as you can tell I am not dressed. I've got a towel wrapped around me. I'm just out of the shower. So went to the gym this morning. I'll just put on some clothes. This is kind of life most of the time, you know. Just kind of doing more than one thing at the same time. Trying to hold it together. So yeah, I'm kind of in a wee bit of a rush at the moment, and things do be like that a lot of the time. So this morning I get up at 4:20, blaze it brother. So yeah, that was that, up early, had a coffee, got on the bus, went to the gym. So the gym where I train, Fly Fit in Cork, I just started training recently, opens at 5:30, which is nice. So I get in on the bus about 5 o'clock into the city, walk around for a little bit, and then go to the gym at 5:30 when it opens, which is nice. And this morning I did a lower body and conditioning session. So if you followed me, you know, for a while, you'll probably see that my training goals have probably shifted over the years. At the moment I don't do like crazy high volume lower body workouts with the intent of, you know, gaining a whole pile of muscle or anything like that. Rather I'm just kind of more so maintaining, trying to push strength on a little bit, but not so much. The primary goal is actually, I better put on my pants as well, is actually Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's kind of the main thing I want to improve at, really, is Jiu-Jitsu, grappling. So yeah, doing more conditioning work with the intent of that obviously carrying over to Jiu-Jitsu a little bit more than a whole pile of hypertrophy work. So still keeping the lifting in there for sure. I haven't been doing that much lifting lately, to be honest. So squats and deadlifts this morning were lighter, much further from failure, and just trying to build up tolerance again. I introduced the sumo deadlift this morning for the first time in a while, so anytime I introduce that lift I'm going to be a bit more conservative with it, because the adductors won't thank you if you're too aggressive too soon. So yeah, pretty easy from a lifting perspective. And then what I did after that was I finished off with some conditioning work, which was a circuit basically of 3 different conditioning exercises in a row. So I was doing the bike erg, which is like a stationary bike, but it's kind of like a hybrid between a bike and a rower, and that it's got the fan going. So I was doing that, the Concept 2 bike erg, 30 seconds straight into the ski erg. You may have seen that elsewhere, the ski erg, 30 seconds, and then straight into the assault bike. So that's where you're using your arms and your legs for 30 seconds as well. So basically 30, 30, 30, all maybe 85% effort, not pushing to the max at all really, but obviously by the end of it it feels like max. And then 1 minute rest and repeat for 5 total rounds. So that was pretty challenging from a conditioning perspective, especially when you've done a little bit of lower body work previously. You're a little bit more fatigued than you otherwise would be, but all fun, you know, all fun, all good crack. These pants are actually dirty, so I'm going to change those. Life is kind of all about juggling lots of different things at the moment, as you'll probably be aware. So get up early to go to the gym so that I can knock that out a bit earlier, and then I can get stuck into work sooner. So today I'm actually in college for a practical lab on injections. So that's just an hour in college, it's not that big a deal. So I get the bus in now shortly, and then come back out here again and just get stuck into work. I've got a call with a client at 4 o'clock, so that's scheduled in. Other than that, nothing else is actually scheduled in. It's just a case of getting stuck into work for the day. So things that I'll do for the day now are, I've got a few kind of residual emails. Today's Thursday. I do my check-ins normally on a Monday, but there'll always be some that are a little bit late, so they kind of do drip into the week a little bit. But overall, check-ins generally get banged out early on in the week, but I do have 1 or 2 emails that I have to get to today. I have a new client who signed up, who I'm just waiting to send back a questionnaire, and if they send that back I'll probably do that program today as well. I have a few other kind of general emails in the inbox. Other things, I've got a lot of lectures to do actually, a lot of lectures that I have to catch up on and finish before the end of the week. Tomorrow I am on placement in CUH on the renal ward. So kidney, renal is just a word for kidney. So yeah, in CUH, that's Cork University Hospital. So I'm on placement there tomorrow, and I'm also due to be meeting my supervisor for my research project. My supervisor is a consultant neurosurgeon, so he's obviously a super busy guy, but hoping to pin him down at some point to meet him. I was supposed to meet him tomorrow, but it's looking like it mightn't happen. We'll see, because I am on placement tomorrow, so it's a little bit messier in terms of scheduling. But other than that, then we'll be into the weekend, and for the weekend it really is just a case of again just continuing with the process of kind of training, working, studying. Like, that's pretty much all I do, which is why the whole kind of day in the life vlog thing isn't very exciting. But I know some people like to kind of watch these videos just to see what people are up to.
We're on the road, so don't at me for the mask, guys. I'm outdoors. I'm just walking to the bus. I'll put it on my face in a moment. What was I going to say? So, frequently asked question: what's it like studying medicine during COVID-19? In case you weren't aware, we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, in case anyone didn't tell you yet. So yeah, the situation currently is obviously very different in terms of being a student. So we have some slightly different restrictions to some of the other courses, and some exceptions. We are in the hospital, like as I said, I'm on placement tomorrow in the hospital. And we're only there every Friday or every other Friday kind of a thing. So for the moment, it's not too intensive. Next semester, like, we basically finish our like classroom coursework this December. So that will be the first year and a half. I'm in second year. And that's the equivalent of 3 years of a standard medicine course, so a direct entry course. So if you came out of college, you would do in 3 years what we do in the first year and a half. And that's obviously because we're graduate entry, so everyone in the course has a degree. You'd hope they have study skills and better time management, etc., and maybe some prerequisite knowledge, because you have to get in via the GAMSAT exam, which does involve you having some scientific knowledge, of kind of basic biology and stuff. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We're a year and a half in almost, which means that we'll be out on placement fully from 2021 onwards. God, it feels weird saying that. It's almost 2021. But yeah, so at the moment we're doing primarily classroom stuff. We do have some practicals, and for those practicals we are still allowed to be in the college, but less so than we normally would, and with increased restrictions in terms of social distancing and masks and visors, etc., especially if we're coming near any simulated patients, because we have some practical labs where we would be simulating practical clinical skills, and for that we have volunteers who would pretend to be, our patients, so that we can practice. So yeah, there's more restrictions on that. There's more restrictions on the number of kind of anatomy and physiology labs that we would have. So we would normally have some physiology labs. We don't have those this semester. We would normally have quite a lot of anatomy labs, and we actually only have 2 for the whole semester, which isn't great because they tend to be quite beneficial. But other than that, all our lectures are just moved online. So it's just a case of managing your time, doing the lectures online, consuming the content, and then showing up for the practical sessions when they're on. So it's strange. It's definitely different, but it suits me fine personally. Sorry about the noise. It suits me fine personally in terms of how I work. Like, obviously, because I work online and spend a lot of time at the laptop, it's a bit easier to just be able to, just be in the one place and do everything rather than having to commute as much. With that said, obviously I'm commuting today, but most days I don't even have to go into the college. Most days it's just a case of being at home, doing my triage work, doing my study, and anything else that we have to do. And yeah, it's fine, no complaints. The only downsides obviously are the lack of social connection. You don't get to see your classmates very often. That's particularly important for international students, international students who are away from home, are probably homesick, don't see their families, etc. And if all of their social circle is centered around, being in college, that's quite difficult. But for me, I can't really complain, I get to do all my work, I'm still able to work, obviously, which is really important in terms of funding college in the first place. I need to be able to work, and at the moment our business is not too affected. We're actually doing quite well amidst the pandemic. It was affected a bit earlier on, but at the moment, because gyms are open and everything, we're doing quite well. So I'm happy enough in that sense. So overall, life is good. Obviously still very stressful, and I'm probably more stressed than I have been in a while. It's fine, not that big a deal. So since we spoke this morning, I've been to college and back. Sorry, the lighting is awful here, but that's okay. And now what I'm doing is I'm studying. Ik studeer. And I just thought I'd kind of touch on some of the things I do when I study, because a lot of people actually ask that. Like, people often ask for study tips and stuff, and like, to be honest, I very often give the answer that I don't have a specific way of studying, but rather that I kind of just have a general philosophy of just like being curious and trying to understand like what you're learning, why you're learning it, and how you can actually apply it, rather than just kind of learning mnemonics to learn things off. So I'm not that type of studier, which is probably more efficient from the perspective of learning things to do well on exams. You're probably better off to have a proper study system, a way that is very efficient, mnemonics or flashcards or whatever it is that happens to work for you. But for me, I'm kind of more of an open-ended person, and I could end up going down some rabbit holes studying something for far longer than I need to, and then another area I mightn't have the same level of detail on, but I'll hopefully have enough knowledge. But yeah, that's kind of how I end up when I'm studying. But I'm not selling that. I'm just saying it's what I do. An example of that, at the moment I'm doing a lecture on anatomy of the motor system, so different areas of the brain that relate to movement. So basically what I've done here on the screen is I was looking at the lecture, which you will see here. So they're the lectures. So obviously all our lectures are online at the moment because of the Rona. So you'll see that I've got the two lectures pulled up there. I'm obviously doing one at a time on that side of the screen. And I'll watch that video. I've got it playing in like 1.5 speed. And then if I come to something interesting, firstly, I've got note taking on the opposite side. So this other window, I use Rome Research here. I've discussed that on my Instagram, so I'm not going to discuss it again here just for the moment. But Rome Research is what I use for note taking. And what I've got, you can actually probably see this, is if you look at that top window there, I've got a main window where the notes are being taken, and then I've got a side window where I'm basically adding in an additional side page that I'll use. So basically what that allows me to do, let's see, is because I've got a side page here, basically you can see what that looks like. 1 second. This will be like my main notes page here up the top left. So medicine year 2, and then I have all my subjects broken down: anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, public health, biochemistry, pathology, blah blah blah. Alright, then anatomy. For each lecture I'll drop down and I'll have my notes for that respective lecture. This one is motor 1, so I've got notes made. And then it came to a point in the lecture where the lecturer over here on this screen was discussing lacunar infarct. So she was just saying that, hey, this is something that is clinically relevant, and it was just one line, and I was like, okay, I'd actually like to learn more about that. So pause the video, open up a side window. So what I've got here on Rome, I'm not sure, you probably can't see this closely, but if you can see my mouse here on the screen, I've got an area that's kind of like hyperlinked in blue.
You should be able to see it there. That says lacunar infarcts. And when you do this on Rome, I use Rome Research. You can see the logo there. When you do this on Rome, you add in the brackets, you basically make a page for that term. So now anytime I use that term, I can refer to the page that I've created. So then I opened up in a side window there, lacunar infarcts, and then added additional notes for that page. So that means that if I ever come across this term in my notes in future, lacunar infarcts, that I can go immediately to this page and recall important information. So that's what I did. I went to some radiology websites and some YouTube videos and some research papers just to get some more information on lacunar strokes, on the lenticulostriate vessels that are involved in those strokes, and some other vessels. But then as a result, I'm able to, if I ever come across that in future, I know what it is. So having a few different windows is obviously helpful. This is a big screen. I appreciate everyone doesn't have a big screen, but you can just flick between tabs. It's not that big a deal. But yeah, that's something I do very frequently when studying, is kind of just go off in a bit of a rabbit hole. And if I think something, especially if something is important, I'll go a bit deeper on it, even if I don't think it's that relevant to the curriculum. Even if I don't think it's going to be bringing me up on my exams or whatever, just because, especially if you're interested in medicine, like, your knowledge and decision making actually matters in future, and being curious in a lifelong commitment to curiosity is obviously helpful in general, and it's something that I've always preached. But yeah, that kind of carries over to how I study. You'll see there, that's just a YouTube video from some guy called Steve Jacques, shout out to you, on the lenticulostriate vessels and lacunar infarcts. And it's a nice little video. But yeah, that's just a couple of, I suppose, things that aren't very, may not be very helpful for you, in that I'm not exactly telling you how to best study, and that's not like saying that's how I study all the time. It's just an insight into the process, into what I do when I'm not training and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Rome Research is really good. I'll definitely actually do a video on that, on how to create effective notes and stuff like that for studying medicine or studying whatever you happen to study, because I did do like a series of highlights on my Instagram stories, or a series of stories which are now saved in my highlights on my Instagram @SkinnyGaz, if you want to check that out. So that's definitely helpful, and Rome is definitely something that I found to be quite helpful. You'll have seen there that I've got a screenshot of the lecture slide that was important, and I'll pop that into the document, and then I'll add my own notes, and then you can interlink between different pages, and it's really a good platform for someone who wants to be able to link all of the different knowledge together. I think, as much as I'm a fan of kind of traditional approaches to things, and old school being a fairly reliable way of doing things, one of the downsides of pen and paper is that you're not going to be able to necessarily link it all together. You can't hyperlink. You can't, if you come to your 15th notebook that you've got in your studying with your medical studies or whatever you're studying, you can't just like click on the page to go back to your third notebook where you actually had other notes on that topic. Whereas with something like Rome, I can actually just hyperlink specific terms, and then anytime I use that term again, I can go back to any notes I've made on it previously, which is really helpful, especially for medicine, because like medicine is so ridiculously broad and deep, in the sense that you're especially in when you're studying medicine in college, you're expected to kind of be very broad but also very deep, and then you're going to forget a lot of it naturally as you go out and work, but then you might actually still need that knowledge at some point in time. And there is a lot of, if you speak to any practicing doctors, there is still a lot of looking things up on the job, or looking things up in the evening, or going back over things that you might have heard about when you were in medical school that you didn't think would ever be important, because there's a big difference between what you're taught in college and what you actually use when you go out. And obviously I'm only a second year student, but from speaking to doctors and even seeing the process, having gone through physiotherapy education and everything, you kind of begin to realize that things are different in the real world than they are in the textbook, you know. But yeah, no, that's what I find to be quite helpful about Rome. Yeah, that is it. I don't have anything else to say really. Yeah, we'll be back for more soon. Peace out, and remember that it is in fact too easy.